Hello! Today I'm gonna talk about the worst D&D campaign that I've been in, and that is gonna be a big conversation. I feel like people like to hear like quote unquote like horror stories when it comes to D&D or like when it comes to tabletop RPGs, just because like people either like to feel like they're not alone or they just like to hear disasters. And so, what I will say is that this campaign that I was in probably could have been worse. It could have been worse, but like things that happened in it was just like a lot of like what the fuck moments. And so I'm just kind of down to talk about it. So, and no one asked for this, but I was like, you know what? Why not? Why not just like talk about this, because it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. Just to give you guys some background on the group that I was playing with, right? This was a friend group that I DM'd for several years. I DM'd them through quarantine. And so one of the players, he came up to me and was saying, because like by the end of the campaign I ran for them, he was like, hey, I'd like to like try DMing. I was like, cool, by all means, yeah, that's really cool. And it was really exciting for me because I was a DM, I was a forever DM, I was DMing a lot. And so it was exciting to be a player, as well as I have a couple friends in that friend group, right, where we've talked being like, oh man, I don't think we'll ever be players together and all this stuff. And this was the opportunity to finally be a player with them. So it's like, oh, cool, awesome. So I was really excited to finally be a player. And the thing is as well is that I don't know if you like if you've played TTRPGs or anything like that, that like has there ever been like a character that you've always wanted to play, like the character concept or a class or whatever that you've just always wanted to play? And I did. And so I had a character named, God, my head's always so off-centered. I had a character. I have his character journal right here because I had to reference it a couple times. His name is Takatake. If you watched my previous TTRPG video, I put him at the end, but here he is again. I love him dearly. He is a character concept that I've been wanting to play for a very long time, like even prior to doing this campaign, because I always have like a million character concepts in my head. And so this was a character I really wanted to play. And I was like, okay, with the setting and everything like that, it sounds like it would be a good fit. What was the setting of this campaign? It was a Castlevania inspired campaign. And so I was like, oh, cool, I think this fits pretty well. Yeah, I was really excited. I was like very excited, like me, like one of my other friends, who I love dearly, and her husband, who I also love dearly. They're both in my current campaigns that I run, and I'm so glad that they still wanted to play with me even after the fallout of this friend group. And so I'll get there. Campaign was Castlevania inspired, and it also took place in the modern world. So like we weren't in like a fantasy world. We weren't in the Forgotten Realms. We weren't in Theros or up and doing Spelljammers or whatever. We were on Earth. We were on just normal Earth. Just to kind of talk about generally what I didn't like about this campaign before I kind of dive into nitty gritty is that, one, I felt pretty targeted by the DM. And I'm not saying that in like a, oh, woe is me, like you're always after me. It was more like, bro, like what the fuck? Why do you keep doing things to counter me? Like, and I'll get there. Furthermore, the DM was not very good at improving. And so a recurring thing that's going to happen is if things didn't go to script, if things weren't like exactly how he envisioned it, he wouldn't allow it. And it happened a lot. It happened so much. And this, like, I remember sharing this story before, and what I said really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, which I thought was really fascinating. Which is like, I gave him a lot of grace. I was really lenient with him at the start because I was like, oh, he was a first time DM, so yeah, he might get some stuff really weird, or he might be like really stringent on stuff. And so I was really holding out hope that like as the campaign goes on, he like relax a little bit more and be like, okay, cool, like a little bit more hands off. Like the way I said, I was like, I've been pretty lenient with how he rules things because they're not exactly right. Like they're not exactly right. If you want to go rules as written, they're not right. And he wouldn't really go rules as written unless it was like it worked for him as the DM. And so I was like, okay. So, and I understand how that could sound pretty bad or like off for a lot of people, but I'm also like, bro, like players, especially people who have DM'd before, can smell bullshit from the DM, right? It's like, what the fuck do you mean like this doesn't work and stuff like that. And I was not the only DM in the group. I think 3 other people, including the 2 friends I have in there, have also DM'd. And so, but I think I was the most vocal about it because I think I was the one with the most experience. So I was just like, what the hell? But anyway, so yeah, because this guy was the first time DM, I was super like, just like, okay, yeah, like let's have you kind of rule it in a way that makes sense, I guess. And the thing is, he also asked me for DMing tips. He would be like, hey, like, what do I do with this? And blah, 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 blah. I was like, well, and then I sent him some videos. I talked to him. I sent him some articles. I was just like, here you go. Like, these are some stuff that have helped me out. So maybe they'll help you out. And then the thing is, I'm like, did you watch or listen to anything I had said or that you consumed? Because it sure doesn't seem like you did. Let's finally get started to why this is one of the worst campaigns I was in. Let me start from the beginning. Oh boy. So our group, we're all on a boat together and we're traveling to this island. I think it was like a northern European island. And we were traveling on there, and that's how all of us kind of like get together as a group for the most part. My character and one of my friends' characters, Bubbles, I'm going to reference her as Bubbles, were our besties. We were besties. We were like, yeah, we're going to be, you know what, let's be friends. Let's be best friends. And that was fun. It was fun to have that dynamic. And so, and Bubbles' player's husband was another character named Vincent. I'm going to reference those 2 a lot because I love those 2. And so Bubbles and Taka were besties, and so we were all traveling to this northern European trip for different reasons. Taka was going there because he has heard rumors that like he might be able to find his childhood best friend and lover there, and Bubbles was going up there because of research opportunities, because Bubbles' whole thing was Bubbles was an artificer or artificer. I don't know how to actually pronounce it, and also a lot of research opportunities. Vincent was up there because he got tricked by his cousin, who was another player, thinking it was a vacation, and it was not. And they actually had to deal with something with their uncle, and so that was what they were up there for. And then there were many other characters. There were many other people because something I totally forgot to say. When I was DMing them in like the campaign, it started off with like 11 people. I don't know how I managed those first couple sessions. I don't think I really did. And so this campaign started off with, I want to say 7 to 8 people, which is a lot, especially for a first time DM, but he wanted to include everyone in the friend group. So I was like, all right, that's up to you. And over time, the group kind of died down. Like it was never like a consistent like number of people, I must say. I believe we got attacked on the boat, which was fun. Like the first few sessions of this campaign was actually decently fun. It was like, okay, cool. Like we're getting to know like the world that you made. Like we're getting to know. And again, let me say, I'm a DM. I understand how much work goes into not just DMing, like even just like a module, but creating your own world, creating your own lore. Like I know how much work goes into that because the campaigns I currently DM in are all my homebrew. And so I was just like, okay, I understand. So I believe we were attacked on the boat by like fish folk people, and we were fine. And then we made it to the starting village, and this is kind of like and this is like session 2, right? And so I was like, okay, a little odd, but fine. So something that happened is that, so Taka, he is a hexblood. If you don't know what hexbloods are, they are like people who have been touched or like have some sort of hag stuff involved with them. And so they start off as a certain race. So like Taka is a half elf, but then he's a hexblood because he got backstory stuff with hags. And so hexbloods have something called an eerie token. There's a racial ability called eerie token, and what eerie tokens allows people to do is that they can like break it off. So it's flavored as, oh, you can pull your fingernail off or a tooth out like harmlessly, it doesn't hurt you, and you can use that to, it's called remote viewing or something else. And so you could like look at things in the perspective of like where the eerie token is, or you can listen in on things. So when we get to this village, the village is getting attacked by more fish people, more fish folk, and like these 2 big bads come in where one was a minotaur, I believe, but the other one was a vampire. And so towards the tail end of combat, so Taka is a arcane trickster rogue at this point. I think we started off at level 3, I think. And so I was already Arcane Trickster Rogue. And so I was like, okay, my mage hand is invisible. I'm going to plant my or my Eerie token into like the pocket of the vampire. Just so like maybe we can get some info from it. And so I rolled sleight of hand as the DM called for. I think I got a 19 and he said, yeah, it works. Yeah, like you put it in their pocket. I was like, cool. And so the vampire, the minotaur, they teleport away after combat. And then I was like, cool, I'm going to use my Eerie token. I want to listen in on what they're saying. This is like, again, this is like kind of the session 2. I was like, oh, this is a weird way to rule it, but okay. So what I did with the Eerie token is like, okay, I want to listen in. I want to know like what's going on. I didn't get any big lore drop. It was more like, okay, cool. Like you hear them talk a little bit and then, oh, they find your Eerie token and one of them says, oh, sounds like we have an eavesdropper. And then they crush it and it jolts me out of remote viewing or like my Eerie token thing. I was like, oh, okay. And again, I didn't get really anything substantial. And like part of me was like at that time, I was like, oh, he probably wasn't ready. He didn't want to improv or didn't know what to say. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. In the same combat, when like things would move out of, you know, range, like everyone would get an attack of opportunity, right? And the DM said, no, you guys can't do that. It's like, why? Why can't we do that if they're moving out of our threatened area? Like that makes no sense to me. And so I was like, so one of the players, Vincent's player, was just like, oh, do they have like that feat where they just can't get attack of opportunity? What was it called? Like slippery or something like that? And the DM, like, he makes the face of like, yes, yeah, that's what they have. And it's like, bro. So not only did they not actually have that on them, like that feat to not be able to have attack of opportunity on them, not only did they not have that, he was just like, yeah, no, yeah, they have that. And then like again, my senses of like, no, you didn't plan that because you didn't know that existed. You're giving that face of like, no, oh fuck. So that was like another thing that kind of made me a little like, ooh, fuck. And I'm sure throughout this video of me kind of talking about this, you're going to be like, why did you not leave? Why did you not leave this campaign? And I was just like, you know, I felt bad. I'm not going to lie. This was my people pleasing era, which was pretty much my whole life up until a couple years ago. Like, I'm a recovering people pleaser. And so I was like very like people pleasing at this point. And I was just like, ooh, I don't want to leave. I don't want to make him feel bad and all this stuff. It was the thing. It was the whole thing. A lot of the details are going to get kind of muddied because there's a lot that had happened, but then it felt like nothing happened at all, like in terms of like the story of the campaign. So the next thing I can recall is that our group, we entered this haunted carnival. It was occupied by mostly like ghosts and spirits and stuff like that. And while the group was getting preoccupied by like the ringleader, I think was who he was, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do ninja bullshit because I built Taka to be a ninja. I want him to get recon. I want him to get intel. I want him to be able to sneak around and like try to listen in on things. And so I was like, cool, can I have Taka like kind of stray away from the group and then like keep to the shadows, keep to the dark, and stealthily and as quietly just like move around? And the DM said yes, and I rolled a stealth check and I wrote this down. I got a 22 in the stealth. And listen, I know like that sounds high, but I know that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to succeed. But I will say we were like what, like level 5, level 6 at this point. I was just like, okay, cool, I'm gonna stealth. And then as soon as like it became like my turn again to kind of like do stuff while everyone else is getting preoccupied with like carnival stuff, and not even like fun carnival stuff, it was like, follow this person, oh, this is a thing you can do you want to do this? No? Okay, here's the next booth. It was kind of like that. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna try to stealth around, try to like go behind the tents and like be out of the view of people. And I remember saying, hey, like if the coast is clear, if no one can see me, I'm gonna just, you know, go check shit out. And then as soon as I try that, he's like, oh, these spirits all see you and just stare at you. So you're telling me I can't stealth at all? Like literally anything can see me? Got it. And so I was just like, all right, cool. Even though I was like, I want to be away from the population. I want to like be far away. Like I look around, fine, whatever. I think the session after that, we were fighting a pretty big boss. We were fighting pretty much like a Cerberus creature. It had 3 heads. And let me tell you, so I built Taka combat-wise to be like a hit and run kind of character. I built him to like go hit and run. He's not supposed to be frontline. He's not supposed to be trying to take hits or anything like that. I was like, I go in, I hit things, I dash out. All right, I'll move out of the way. So Taka has the mobile feat, so he's able to hit things, and even if he succeeds on the hit or not, like he is able to move away without incurring an attack of opportunity. And I guess this really annoyed the DM because when we were in this fight with the Cerberus managed to get a hit on Taka. So Taka gets bitten and he gets marked. And I was like, I don't know what that means. Anyway, so I try to move out of the way after like doing an attack, and the DM's like, nope, your attack it gets attack of opportunity on you. I was like, oh, but I have mobile. He's like, nope, you getting marked will cancel that out. I was like, interesting. Okay, I guess that's what happens. So I can't do hit and run tactics. I can't like go in and then have mobile like cover me. So I dash out, and I was like, okay, I'll chalk it up right now just because this is a combat encounter. I get marked, sure. He said, yeah, you get attack of opportunity, and you also cannot go invisible. I was like, right. Not that I went invisible at all. But I did ask the DM at the end of the session, like after we were done, after we were like getting ready to go, I was like, did you do that specifically to counter me? And he said, yes. Dead-eyed. He like straight up says, yes, he did. I was like, okay. He said he also did it to counter the bard we had in the party because the bard liked to go invisible a lot, but the bard was also not there. And also, why would the bard be in melee range literally at all? And so I was like, okay, cool. So you did that to counter 2 of us at the very least, which I was like, that's weird. That's weird. Okay. This wasn't the only instance of him trying to counter like me specifically in combat, because he doesn't try to counter anyone else in combat. He really tried to counter me a lot, because something I would do, because I do big damage, I was like kind of DPS in terms of like the group composition, because so Taka's a rogue, right? He's rogue and he's multi-class to monk. But the thing is so he's arcane trickster rogue, so I gave him booming blade. And then I almost always had sneak attack because he also had a familiar, so like familiar would give him advantage, or we did flanking rules, and so I'll like Taka would have advantage. Booming blade on top of sneak attack and top of like just normal like short sword damage is what I used for him, as well as I also gave him. He also had hex as a spell, and so I would hex things, and then it's like just a little bit more damage. So like, let's be real, I do a lot of damage. I openly acknowledge, like per turn, I do a lot of DPS damage. But the thing is, I guess he didn't like that. He didn't like that very much. And so in a lot of future combats, and so I'll talk about one right now, where we were fighting kind of like this dirt golem thing, elemental, I don't know. And anytime I tried to do booming blade, if I did booming blade, it didn't do the thunder damage. I was just like, it's immune to thunder damage? And he said yes, and I was like, you'll understand this is not lightning damage, right? He said yeah. And so if for those who don't know, so there are different damage types in D&D, and so there's fire, cold, force, lightning, and there's thunder. And like if you hear thunder, you probably think of lightning, but thunder damage in D&D is more like sound or like shockwave damage, sonic damage, I would say. And that's probably what they should honestly rename it, is sonic damage, because I can understand how it gets really confusing. And so I was like, okay, you know what? That kind of makes sense. I guess I cannot do thunder damage to this thing. So I just did normal like sneak attack damage and stuff like that for that combat. But I was also like, okay, interesting that you made a monster that specifically does not take thunder damage, but will take damage for everything else. Got it. After the carnival, we made it to pretty much like a mansion or like a manor. We were kidnapped really to like attend a dinner with the BBEG and his entourage of baddies. And This still frustrates me, like thinking about it, because so the rest of the party got really aggressive towards the BBEG. Really aggressive. And so they started attacking the BBEG. And I was like, okay, Taka, I guess we'll get like a hit in, maybe. I don't know. So I land one unarmed strike and then move away. And mind you, Taka, let me say this. Taka was the furthest away from the BBEG in this moment. He was literally the furthest away. Like, he was behind the spellcasters. He was behind, like, the frontliners. He was, I think, like 60 feet away. But the DM, in a move of giving us a taste of the BBEG, what does he do? Well, apparently the BBEG goes into an ethereal form, so attacks of opportunity can't be taken on him. And he goes through everyone. And this motherfucker was surrounded by the frontliners. He was surrounded by literally almost every other fucking character in the fucking group. He goes through them. Doesn't get an attack of opportunity. He goes past the spellcasters, bubbles included, and goes straight to me, 60 feet away, furthest one away. And he instantly one-shots me. He one-shots me and I go down. How did he do this? So I had to make a constitution saving throw. I failed the con save and I immediately got brought down to zero hit points. Mind you, again, we're level 6. So the way that it was flavored pretty much was like, oh, he raging demoned me, like Akuma's raging demon. That's what he did. Okay. And everyone was having a laugh, right? Everyone else was having a laugh. But I'm just like, you literally skipped through everyone just to get to me. And he was like, yeah, he sensed a little bit of monk in you. I was like, bitch, I have 1 level in monk. I'm a 5 level rogue and 1 level monk. What the fuck do you mean? Like, I don't have a whole lot of monk in me yet. Essentially, what the BBEG did was the quivering palm thing from the Way of the Open Hand monk subclass. And the audacity that this guy had to say, oh, just be lucky that like I didn't like go as what quivering palm says, because you would actually be dead. I was like, oh cool, I would have been dead. Honestly, at this point, I wish I did. That way I would have avoided everything else that had happened after this. Great. And that's how we ended that session. Next session, I get brought back to life. Well, not I get healed, and so I get to stand. I get to be conscious. And so we all start trying to run from this thing. We try to escape the situation. And so I cast Fog Cloud to, you know, obscure vision. And of course, there's a antagonist who can just like rise up in the air, see everything, and then try to snare us with tendrils and stuff like that. I was like, cool. And this is also when I started noticing that he really liked to target me in combat. Like, he came after me a lot and like would literally avoid everyone else. Like with the BBG, a monster could be totally surrounded pretty much by everyone, by like the frontliners, and he would still go after me. And I'm like, I'm on like the opposite side of the fucking battlefield. What do you mean you're going after me? Clairvoyantly, I did take shield as a spell, and I'm so glad I did. I thought about taking silvery barbs, but then I was like, well, this guy's the first time DM. I know silvery barbs can be really fucking annoying to deal with, so I'm not going to take silvery barbs. But then our bard took silvery barbs, so I was like, okay, well, I should have taken silvery barbs, because that would have helped me out a lot. Just giving myself advantage, sneak attack stuff, you know, all that good stuff. I think like one of the biggest things that really ticked me off was going back to the eerie token stuff. So after escaping, we make it back to like that very first village that we arrived in at the beginning of the campaign. And so we got to know a lot of the NPCs, right? And so one of the NPCs was an innkeeper, and we were talking to her, and we were asking her about like past adventures that have come through and been like, hey, like what happened to them and blah, blah, blah. And it just like made the innkeeper like elevated and like really mad at us. And so she fucking like runs out of the inn. And so me, Taka, and then Vincent, we go to check on her and be like, yo, what's up? You okay? What's going on? And she wouldn't talk to us. And so Vincent cast heroism on her and it didn't do anything. So it's like, all right, well, I guess we'll leave you alone. The rest of the party at that time was pretty much like they were investigating. So there's like this room that had like these curtains. And so they're like, okay, let's try to look behind the curtains. Every time someone had to try to look behind a curtain, or every time someone tried to look behind a curtain, they had to make a Constitution saving throw. If you failed, then you felt a big sense of dread behind the curtains and you can't open it. And everyone failed. Everyone failed the Constitution saving throw. Because if you roll pretty much anything lower than 20, you're gonna fail in this campaign. Like, that was the vibe I started getting. It's like, if you roll lower than a 20, you're gonna fail. You're gonna fucking fail. And it's like, bro, we're level 6, level 7 at this point. So it's like, I'm not saying that it's impossible for us to roll a 20, but you're also being like, hey, like, I'm asking you to roll something really high constantly. When Taka and Vincent make it back with the group while they're in this room with these curtains, the innkeeper came in right after us and got really mad at the group for snooping around and was like yelling at us and all this stuff, and we're just like, okay. A town guard came in and needed to talk to her, and so I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pull off a fingernail for my eerie token and I'm gonna toss it in the dark corner. It's because I want to listen in on what's going on. This makes me so mad. I guess I'm so mad about this. So when we leave, we're like, yeah, guys, let's just go. Let's let them talk. And then after we leave, like, we're like in front of the inn or whatever, I use the remote viewing, or like the listening portion, at least, to remote viewing, to listen in on this conversation this innkeeper's having with this town guard. So I activate it. And then as soon as I activate it, the innkeeper finds my eerie token. Again, it was a fingernail. It's like I roll sleight of hand to, you know, hide it. I got a 25. And I know that because I wrote it down. I rolled a 25. Not only does this innkeeper find the eerie token, she also crushes it. And I apparently get jolted out of, you know, remote viewing. And I was just like, this is so annoying. Like, I'm trying to get information. I'm trying to get intel, right? Like, I'm trying to play the ninja. I'm trying to, like, get information. And so me just being really fucking annoyed at this point, I was just like, okay, you know what? Rules as written set does not say that if my token gets destroyed that I get jolted out. And so the DM's like, okay, well, then she picks it up and then marches out of the inn and then throws it at you. I'm like, she throws it at me? Okay. So lo and behold, he just didn't want me to listen in. And like, some people have said, oh, well, he probably just wasn't like ready to, like, probably just wasn't prepared for your eerie token stuff. I was like, okay, but then if that's the case, then just say that. I can take the excuse of like, oh, he wasn't prepared for that only so far, because this is not the first time. This wasn't the first time I tried to use eerie token to just get some sort of information. The audacity that this guy had at the very end of the session, like, we were cleaning up and like we're getting ready to go. The audacity that this guy said he felt bad for me because I'm more combat oriented. And I'm like, I tried to get information. I tried to like get intel, but you wouldn't let me. I was just like, the audacity, what the fuck do you mean, right? And so I was just so annoyed. I was just so annoyed. Like, after that, like, she throws the eerie token at me, I just kind of shut down. I was just like, you know what, this isn't worth it anymore. I was trying to be invested still, and I just lost all interest at that point. I was like, I'm barely here. No, I was not trying at all after this instance to really be that engaged. Like, I was still there, and I'm not being disruptive, but I'm not gonna like invest myself into this story, because like, why would I if I can't really do anything? I'm not allowed to have any sort of kind of like agency in that way. And so after this, I was just like, the difficulty is very artificial. The difficulty did not actually was not real. It was just all artificial. And so I was just very, very, very fucking annoyed. I felt very fucking defeated at that point. And so I was like, okay. And again, you might ask, why did you stick with this campaign after this? I wanted, like, part of it was because I would have, again, people pleasing, I would have felt bad. The other part was because I want to see how much of a dumpster fire it was gonna be. It was that morbid curiosity of me of like, I wanted to see how much of a dumpster fire this was gonna end up becoming. And boy, did it. What happened after this whole debacle with the Eerie token and Keeper stuff? I never touched you. I just stopped using Eerie token from then on. Honestly, I was just like, well, actually, that's a lie. I used it one more time. And that was the time that the DM got really mad at me. I'll get there. But yeah, so we kind of move on, right? And this is when things get really muddied because I used to be I was the note taker of the group. Like I was trying to be like very like much that character. It's just like, I'm going to be a note taker. I'm going to like make sure like we get the information and remember information. And so just to show you, I was trying to be so immersed. I was trying to be so dedicated to this campaign because not only was my character like kind of the note taker of the group, I would go back. So here, hold up, give me a sec. All right, I know you probably can't see it well, but so I would like take a bunch of notes, right? Like that's just what I did. I would take notes, like whatever. But then what I would do is that I would go back through the notes and then write them out like a journal entry in Taka's perspective, because I was trying to be like, you know, a good player, trying to be like a dedicated player. And so I would legit go back and write paragraphs of what would happen each session. The thing is, I stopped doing that. I had to stop doing that, because if I'm not going to have any sort of like kind of like agency within this campaign, why the fuck would I care anymore? And so I really stopped caring. And I think the group really felt that, because again, me and Bubbles were like the note takers. We were the note takers of the group. But I stopped. I was just like, I don't care. I don't care anymore. Because I can't fucking care about it anymore. This was a really weird thing that happened, and like this happened with Bubbles, and Bubbles player wasn't even there. So there was a session where only like 3 of the players were able to make it, and so everyone else was being played by the DM. And so not only was I pissed off at what was happening with Taka in this session, but like what happened to Bubbles. And the way I'm saying it makes it sound really bad, but it's not. It's just really fucking stupid and really fucking annoying. So what happened with Taka is that like, so we were like in like this weird like building. I don't know what to call it. It had like aqueducts or like had like waterways and shit like that. There was water involved. And I was really annoyed because once again, going back to Booming Blade, that thunder damage, it's like, cool. Like Taka was like 1v1ing a giant sea serpent at this point. I try to do Booming Blade, and the DM says, oh, the Booming Blade coalesces up its scales and goes to its frills, and then it bounces it back at you. So it would reflect my thunder damage. I was like, oh, cool, great. I can't use Booming Blade again. Awesome. Yay. I didn't expect anything less at this point. But not only did that happen, so Bubbles, again, player was not there. Bubbles has a gun. Like, Bubbles has a gun. We made a running joke of like, oh no, Bubbles has a gun. Because Bubbles is like this super short, super tiny. Like, the way I envision Bubbles in my head is Anya from Spy Family plus an axolotl. That was Bubbles to me. To the player, she was just like, yeah, no, that's exactly what she looks like. I was like, dope. So, if Bubbles has a gun, which ranged weapon, tell me why the DM had Bubbles swim up to the sea serpent to melee range just to shoot her gun at the sea serpent. I don't understand. Why the fuck would Bubbles swim to melee range just to shoot a sea serpent that she could shoot it from like, I don't know, it's like 60 feet away? It doesn't make sense. And I said that to the DM. I was just like, why would Bubbles need to swim up just to shoot it? Why? She has a gun. She could just shoot from 60 feet away. Why is she going up to it? It made no sense. It literally made no sense to me. But the DM's just like, well, it's just what she does. I was like, that makes no sense. Like, not even in like a strategic like way. It also doesn't make sense in the character way. Like, that's so out of character for Bubbles. Bubbles would not go up to this thing just to shoot it. Bubbles was not frontline. Bubbles was an artificer. She stayed in the back. She was like, I'm not going up to things. I'm going to stay in the back and observe. Like, that was what Bubbles did. Oh my god, I can't. Let's see, what happened after that? Oh, a weird hyena man. This was, I think, like the DM's way of trying to get me back into being invested into the campaign, or back to being invested in the story, because he had this hyena man have a lock of hair of Taka's childhood friend out and sniffs it. I was like, oh, delicious. It's like being creepy. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's just fucking weird, dude. Like, that didn't get me invested. That made me creeped out by you. Like, I was like, and like, I understand, like, hey, like, he was trying to make the character really creepy and really unlikable, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, that's fucking weird. Like, I'm good. So let me tell you about something that happened right before things really fell apart for, like, the friend group and this campaign. We were in, like, pretty much a corridor. Like, we're at, like, this entryway, and we were chasing something, right? And so Taka had a lot of movement by this time. I think we were level, like, 9 or whatever. Regardless, Taka was really fast. Like, his movement speed, I think, was 60 at base, right? So he was able to move 60 feet per 6 seconds. Now, if I take the dash action and then bonus action dash or bonus action step of the wind, that's 180 feet of movement within 6 seconds. So and then I did do like a converter, and that's 20 miles per hour, but like on feet, like on your, like, as running. I was like, damn, that's insane to me. I don't know, that sounds fast as hell. We were chasing something. I was like, all right, if we're chasing something, I'll just go chase. So I went to go chase, and I cleared through this place in literally just one round because I was able to move that much. DM did not like that. But that's not the worst thing that happened, right? So Vincent was the strongest character in our group. Like, he had the highest strength. He was trying to throw a torch. DM had him roll to throw torch. He got like a 10. Well, not that high. And so the DM's like, the torch just falls from your hands and falls 10 feet in front of you. And Vincent's player was just like, bro, I can throw a javelin further than that. I can throw a javelin just normally, like 30 feet. Like, you're telling me I can't throw a torch 30 feet? And I was just like, he has a point, man. Like, if he's able to throw a javelin, he can definitely throw a fucking torch, right? The DM was like, no. It's like, what the fuck? I was baffled. Vincent's player was baffled. But like, that's weird, because like, if I were to call for a roll in that instance, like, because he wasn't even trying to throw to hit something, he was just throwing it to kind of like illuminate the way. Had I been the DM, I'd be like, oh yeah, you can just fucking throw it. And then if I were to call for a roll, I'd be like, oh, you can roll to try to see if you can throw it further. After we get out of this entryway, we make it to like a giant courtyard kind of situation. And this is where Taka finds his childhood bestie, his childhood friend, who was like one of the masked antagonists. And when he found that out, she was going to teleport away by melting into the shadows, and Taka, in character, reached out to try to grab a hold of her before she could teleport away, but I don't succeed. Whatever fucking saving throw I needed to make at that point, and apparently Taka's hands and arms get burned and damaged and corrupted, and Taka had disadvantage on anything dex related. Yeah, the DM said, oh, because of the damage of the shadows, you have disadvantage on all dexterity things. I'm like, cool. So I get hella nerfed. I get super nerfed, and I'm like, great. And you could say, oh, that's the consequence of trying to fucking reach out to someone trying to teleport. It's like, cool, you can say that, whatever. At this point, again, I kind of stopped caring. I was just like, yep, I have disadvantage on all things dex related with my hands. So when things really fell apart, we had to go investigate a library. Yeah, we spent 6 IRL sessions in this fucking library. I'm not even joking. And we met every other week. Sometimes we wouldn't meet for like a month because things would happen. We spent like 6 IRL sessions in this one library. This library fucking sucked. I kid you the fuck not. So what happened in this library? Well, you couldn't look at anything. And I'm not just saying that, right? You couldn't look at anything. It wasn't because it was dark. It was because if you looked at the wall, you would have to make, I think like it was like a charisma saving throw or something like that. And if you failed, you get like stunned, or like you get like this sense of dread that overcomes you. And so like you just can't look at the wall. You can't look at the ceiling because the same thing would happen. Where can you look? At the floor. You can only look at the fucking floor. I'm not kidding you. You could only look at the floor. And you might be like, oh, cool, that's maybe like a puzzle. Maybe you have to figure something out. I'll spoil it ahead of time. There was no way to fix it. It was just part of the fucking library, apparently. It wasn't a puzzle. It was just part of the library. We had to travel through this library looking down at the floor, right? Real cool. Something that happened as well. So remember when I said Taka has a familiar? His familiar, like, flew off somewhere, and Taka couldn't reach it in time. So I was just like, you know what? I don't trust where it's gonna go. I'm going to dismiss my familiar, because you can do that. So I was like, I'm gonna dismiss my familiar. And the DM, he was like, okay. I was like, cool. I dismissed my familiar. Tell me why my familiar ended up being in a jar later in the library. Like, we were searching through desk and it was in a jar. And I was like, bro, I said I dismissed my familiar. He's like, oh no, it didn't work. I was like, what do you mean it doesn't work? What do you mean it doesn't work? Like, what? Did someone counter spell me just dismissing my familiar? I wasn't casting find familiar. I was dismissing familiar. But no, it just didn't work. This library fucking sucked. Let me say that, because again, you couldn't look at anything. Bubbles, being the, you know, academic that she was trying to look at books. You had to make a wisdom save or a charisma save. I don't fucking remember which one. And so like, so what the fuck can we do here? If we literally just can't look at anything except for the fucking floor, right? We can only look at the floor. There were no clues on the floor. There were no clues anywhere. We literally just couldn't look anywhere. And then we had to go in combat, and then combat fucking sucked because everything was pretty much at disadvantage because we can't look at the things attacking us. And I think we were fighting like these automatons that were like the library assistants or whatever. I don't fucking remember. But like, we just couldn't look at anything, and so we had to attack at disadvantage. Taka being Taka, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna run through this whole library with 180 feet of movement. And so I cleared through the library, just being like, cool, this is what's up ahead. Fuck you. Like, I was so mad. I was like, fuck you. Yeah, I'm just gonna look ahead. So something gets stuck on Taka's back, and apparently makes it look like Taka has leprosy and is a decaying zombie. And so the party group, was attacking Taka at that point. Yeah, he had the party attack Taka. Let's target Taka. I was like, awesome. Wonderful. Bubbles was able to manage to get out of it. Like, get out of being like having that happen. Oh, sorry, something I forgot to mention. While we were fighting the automatons, we were also getting stabbed by these really fast tiny fairies or pixies or sprites or whatever the fuck. We were getting attacked by them constantly, and so Taka was kind of sick of it and just like reaches out to snatch one. He grabs one and somehow is able to continue to stab Taka. And so when Taka was just like, continuously getting stabbed, I was just like, Taka fucking crushes this thing in his hand. He doesn't give a fuck. He just DM didn't like that very much, but I was just like, bro, like, if this thing can somehow stab me even though I'm holding its whole fucking body in one hand, right? Like, I asked, like, how big is this thing? And he said, oh, it's like Tinkerbell size. I was like, oh, so it's tiny. He's like, yeah. I was like, cool. I grab it and somehow was able to continuously stab me. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. And I just crush it. Because I was like, fuck you. I can't. Anyway, so Bubbles was able to break out of, like, this, like, trance thing, thinking Taka is a zombie. She was able to get to the next floor because I think we were trying to figure out how to get to the second floor. And what was said and how it makes sense in my brain is like there were stairs and then the ceiling, and the stairs go into the ceiling, but we can't go through the ceiling. So there's no like way to push up or whatever. So we're like trying to figure that out, I guess. Like, and even though we can't look at the ceiling, right? And so Bubbles grabs something and manages to like kind of like go through the ceiling and goes to the next level. And before she did this, because we were in like combat mode, so I gave her my eerie token. I gave Bubbles my eerie token. I was like, please hold on to this. I had a plan in action because I was scared for Bubbles to be by herself in enemy territory. And so if anything, Taka is more equipped to take care of that while everyone else was still attacking him. Let me tell you, The DM gave everyone 2 special abilities that they can use. Like, he homebrewed these abilities. One of the abilities he gave me was I could, for 1 key point, I could swap places if I'm being attacked. So if Taku's being attacked, I can swap places with someone within 15 feet of me. That's how it was worded. I wish I had the paper still, but that was how it was worded. I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna try to use this. I haven't really used it because like he was like a level 3 monk at this point, and so I only had like 3 key points. So like key points were like scary for me to use. I was like, I'm gonna use this to like swap places with Bubbles. I get to the top of the stairs knowing Bubbles just went up there. I get attacked by a party member. Like on my turn, I activated remote viewing from the Eerie token so I can see Bubbles, because I took every contingency. I took everything into consideration. I was like, you know what? He's probably, because I knew. I was like, I'm gonna do this so I can see Bubbles. And then I'm gonna get attacked. I know I will. So I'm gonna swap places with Bubbles. I even asked, hey, is Bubbles within 15 feet of me, even though she is on a different floor? And DM said yes. I was like, cool. When I got attacked, I swapped places with Bubbles. Bubbles gets hit. Sorry, Bubbles. But at the same time, I get to the next floor. I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna use my ability that you gave me to swap places with Bubbles. And the DM was like, you can't do it that way. Sorry, I meant to put that you have to be able to see them. I was like, I use remote viewing. I can see Bubbles. And the look on this DM's face was so mad. He was so mad at me. I'm not even, he was pissed that I did that. He was so mad that not only did I use the thing that he gave me and used it in the correct way and did everything I needed to, he was just so mad that he really wanted me to get hit. Like, that's kind of what it boiled down to. He just wanted me to get attacked. I'm like, I don't understand. Whatever. And he's like, I'll reward your creativity. I was like, bitch, as if I haven't been trying to be creative this whole fucking campaign. And now you're gonna reward me in a way that is like so fucking, you're mad about it? Like, what? That makes no sense. Again, because I'm using a thing that he made for my character. So I'm like, bitch, if anything, be mad at yourself for giving me this ability. Like, make it make sense. Like, truly make it make sense. What? What do you mean? Now, you might ask, hey, maybe he just like wasn't ready. Like, you can make any excuse for him all you want, because again, I'm a DM. I've been a DM many a time. If someone did that in my group, I'd be like, shit, that's fucking awesome. That's so fucking cool. Like, way to use your fucking abilities. That's really cool. But he was just so mad at me. He was so fucking mad at me for doing this. Like, to the point that like he got really sour really fast, and he then took that out on everyone in combat. Let me talk about stuff that happened before the final session of this campaign, before it just died. The DM and one of our friends were going to move out of state, and so they were getting ready for that. There was a lot of drama involved with that, but they managed to move out of state, find a place. My friend and his girlfriend, who was also kind of like making cameos in the campaign here and there, because she was brought into the friend group while this was happening, but then she was moving, so she moved out of state like months before they did. So there was a lot of drama involved with just like the whole moving thing, and it's like, okay, cool. But once it's settled, we had our final session, not because the DM wanted it to be the final session, it's just because everything just blew up after this. So it was virtually, we're all online. The thing that happened in combat in this session is like, so Hyena Man was there, me trying to use the ability that he gave me to swap places. If I'm gonna get hit by something, I was like, I'm gonna swap, because it doesn't say like ally or enemy, it's just whoever I can choose, and I can swap places with them. I chose to swap with the Hyena Man when I was getting hit by something, and he was just like, nope, that doesn't work. I was like, what do you mean it doesn't work? What do you mean? It's like, no, the Hyena guy has like an ability that just cancels that out. I was like, what the fuck? Why give me an ability at all if you don't want me to fucking use it? And that was like kind of like the final thing that was just like, this is so stupid. That was like the final like bad thing that happened, because again, this campaign fizzled out. What happened? Well, the DM had a really big medical scare, a big medical emergency scare. Like, it was bad. Like, To the point that like my friends were like, dude, you could have fucking died. But he was so fucking weird about the DM was really weird about the whole thing. Because like instead of like all of us were like, dude, let's not do D&D until you're feeling better. Until you actively are feeling better medically. Like we want your health. We want you to prioritize your health. So it's like, let's not play D&D at all because we want you to feel better. And he got mad. He got so pissed about that. We're just like, dude, like look out for yourself. We want to make sure that you don't die. And he's just like, no, everyone's quitting on D&D. I spent so much time like coming up with this world and this campaign and all these things. And I'm like, bro, we want you to not die. Like we're just trying to make sure that your health is your priority right now. And I think that really turned a lot of people off. I know it turned me off because I was just like, bro, okay, if you're gonna act this way, then fuck you, because this campaign fucking sucked anyway. So I was like, nope, I'm out. And I think everyone followed suit after that, pretty much. And that's how that campaign died out. I know it was like, kind of like an anticlimactic end, but truly, it was a very anticlimactic campaign. Now the thing is like, again, I have a lot of empathy for DMs. I do, because as a DM, I'm like, I get how much work is put into DMing and the energy spent. I get it 100%. But at the same time, if you're not gonna let your players have fun, then we're not gonna have fun. Like it might be fun for you as the DM, but like at that point, just write a fucking book. Or play a solo campaign. Like, this isn't a campaign that's fun. Oh, actually, no, I did forget something. So we defeated the Hyena Man, right? In the final session. We defeated the Hyena Man, but swooping in to take the kill were NPCs that we met, like, prior. He had, like, this weird obsession with, like, 3 maids that he made as NPCs. And so they swoop in at the very end of when we bring the Hyena Man down to 0 hit points, and then they get the killing blow. Instead of instead of Vincent, because I think Vincent was the one that got this guy all the way down to 0. But nope, narratively, these maids came in to take the kill. It's like, okay, so that's something I forgot. Sorry, but other than that, yeah, that's how that was the worst campaign I was in, because the running theme, right, is just like you're not allowed to do anything if it didn't fit with his narrative, and it's like, what the fuck. Like, it's D&D. We're supposed to be able to do things just for the sake of the role and for the roleplay and the fun of it all. Like, part of tabletop role-playing games is that, like, hey, like, the possibilities of just kind of, like, shooting your shot to do something is there. But he didn't like that. If things didn't fit exactly with how he wanted. Like, my friend, Bubbles player, she puts it the best way, where she says, if you don't do exactly what he wants when he wants it, then he just didn't allow you to do anything until you do that. And it's just like, yeah, that's pretty much what it was, and it fucking sucked. It was just not fun, right? Like, it started off fun because we're like, ooh, the new adventure, we're getting used to things. But as it went on, it was just like progressively more and more of like just seeing like he wasn't, because like I can understand like giving like monsters like immunities and stuff to that for damage types like every once in a while, but to have that kind of be a consistent thing, like not only was this thing immune to it, the next thing was able to reflect damage back, the other next thing was just like doesn't take the damage, right? It's just like, so you're nullifying a lot of abilities that we're supposed to be able to use. For like Eerie Token, let me just go back to Eerie Token. Like, Eerie Token is just a racial ability, right? It's not a spell. And I think he was trying to rule it as a spell. I was just like, it's not. It's a racial ability. And, like, Bubbles player was just like, yeah, it's just something he has because he's just Hexblood. And it's like, I don't get why the fuck he was trying to rule it as a spell so much. Because he really was. He was trying to rule so much of anything anyone did as spells. And it's like, this isn't a spell. This is just a racial feat, right? This is just a thing. Like, he canceled out my mobile a lot, and I'm just like, what's the point of me taking mobile if I can't use mobile? And I'm mostly recalling things that happened to me as Taka, and some things that happened to other players, but like primarily it was just like, I'm sure he did a lot of other stuff to other players that I didn't catch. Yeah, that was my worst campaign. That was the worst campaign I've been in. Hope that story was fun to listen to, I guess. with how scattered it was. I don't want to say bad campaigns necessarily, but I've been in some campaigns where there's a bias against me. I am targeted a lot. And that might be, and it was just like, well, that you're the fucking common denominator, so like, what are you doing? I'm like, listen, I'm a recovering people pleaser, right? Which means if you're gonna be trying to be like this alpha macho bro, this machismo bullshit, which I was surrounded by a lot, I'm gonna call that shit out. Because I'm like, bro, you're not an alpha bro. You're like, shut the fuck up. And I think that's what really rubs people the wrong way, especially a lot of DMs that are guys. A lot of the DMs I've had, not a lot. Like, I say as if I've had so many DMs. I've only had a few. But a lot of them had like a very specific way of DMing that was just a little off for me. And they also had they all have a shared personality trait of machismo-ness. And I'm like, what the fuck? I would love to hear bad campaigns that some of you could have been in. I have a friend, one of my friends who is a player of mine, has shared some stories with me, and I was just like, oh, what the fuck? What the hell? And so, yeah, it was just not a fun campaign. And again, many of my friends, and I'm sure you're gonna be like, why did you stick with it for so long? Because I felt bad. I did. But I honestly should have dropped out of that campaign so much sooner than I did. It was bad. Anyway, that's my D&D story. Let me know if you want more D&D or TTRPG stories. They don't have to be like bad ones. I have some good ones as well. Or if you want to know more about my character Taka with his with my character journal of him. Oh shit. With my character journal of him. If you want to know more about Taka, or just the character journal in itself, well, everything just went to shit. Or if you want me to do like a character journal tour or whatever they're called, let me know. I want to play Taka again. He was the character that was and still is the character I really want to play, but I'm like extra protective of him now because of this bad experience in that campaign. So I'm like, unless this campaign is going to treat me well, like, I'm not saying don't challenge me, but I'm saying like, if you're gonna do this shit, I'd rather not play, or I'd rather play a different character than the character I've been dying to play this whole time. That's where Taka is. Taka is just gonna exists as a figment for me right now until I can migrate him into an actual campaign and where I feel like things matter. Anyway, that's it for me. Please, again, let me know what other TTRPG stuff you might want from me, stories or whatever. I'd also love to hear stories from you guys if you guys are interested in like sharing, because I'd be interested to read or listen too, because I don't know, there's like, I feel like bad campaigns or bad like TTRPG stuff is almost like, it's like what they say about like car accidents, right? Where it's like you kind of just can't look away. You kind of just keep looking. And that's kind of like what TTRPG stories are for me. So anyway, again, if you want me to talk about some fun stuff like in my Perfect Draw campaign or my actual D&D campaigns that I run, please let me know. I'd be happy to share. But other than that, I will see you guys later. Bye.